Here's two common mistakes to avoid on your forehand. Number one is waiting too long to turn, and number two is not turning with both hands on the paddle. A lot of players, they'll wait until after that ball bounces, they're running to the ball before they start the turn, and that just puts them in a rush and they end up hitting a difficult shot. So what we want to focus on is when you make your first move, that's when you start your turn. So notice right when I identify that it's a forehand, I start my shoulder turn. This is an example of what it would look like wrong, where I wait too long to turn. So now I'm in a rush and I end up swinging way too fast because I'm in a rush. So instead, I want to turn right away. Before that ball bounces on my side, my paddle has gone back, my shoulder has turned. And number two is turning with only one hand on the paddle. That's a mistake I see players make, because then we end up just swinging with our arm. This leads to things like tennis elbow and doesn't result in a lot of power. So by turning with both hands on the paddle, now I get this front shoulder involved and it allows me to use the whole upper body on my swing. So I turn with two hands and then I can choose to swing with one. So notice that I'm turning, both hands are on the paddle. Then when I go to swing, I'm letting go of this hand and swinging with just one. Versus the wrong way of doing it is not turning with both hands on the paddle. So now I'm just using my arm, this hand is doing nothing, and my shoulder doesn't turn. So again, watch the right way where I turn with two hands. And now I'm involving the whole upper body on the swing. This video is sponsored by asap.com. I highly recommend them when it comes to food delivery. You can use the promo code USOPEN10 at checkout to get $10 off your order of $25 or more. Now back to the video. So one way to practice these two tips is to do it in a static environment. So I have the Topspin Pro here. You could also do it with just shadow swinging, but here you're able to isolate what you're trying to do on the shot. So the first one I'm going to practice is turning as I start moving to the ball. So I'm going to start a few feet away from the Topspin Pro and I'm practicing turning as I make my first move, and then I'm running to the ball and hitting it. So this is going to lead to a higher success rate than having the ball be fed at you right away, because it's less variables you have to worry about. So I practice turning, moving to the ball, and hitting. It's also good to practice a variety of different footworks when you start. So notice on that one, I started with my outside foot first. So I turn, my paddle goes back, my shoulder turns, my foot pivots out, I move to the ball, and then I hit. Practicing tip number two, which is turning with two hands on the paddle. So maybe I was getting the turn down, but I was just doing it with one hand. Now I need to make sure I secure my second hand on the paddle. So as I turn, I'm also getting this shoulder turned as well. So go ahead and practice this in a static environment, either with a Topspin Pro, or I could do this in a shadow swing environment where I just practice turning early, moving to an imaginary ball, and hitting.